Hello, welcome everybody. Welcome to P&M's Movie Criticism. I'm Miss M.
And I'm Miss P.
Welcome. So, Miss P, you know what time it is. Yeah,
Do I?
yeah, you do.
Should I be
You know,
concerned?
you know what it is. Hype me up. Come on.
You don't need no hype. You better hype
Yeah,
your girl up. You don't need no hype. You better
yeah.
hype your girl up.
This the
You
hot
don't need
sauce.
no hype. You
This
better
the
hype
hot
your
sauce.
girl up.
This the hot sauce. This the hot sauce. This the hot sauce. What's the hot sauce? That's right. What's the hot sauce, everybody? And Miss P, can you tell them what we're going to give the hot sauce about tonight?
Today's movie is going to be Network from 1976.
Yeah. Taking it back. I love it. So was my first time seeing this movie. I had never seen this movie before. So, but I will say that wow, it this was a pretty good movie. But let's talk about it. So ladies and gentlemen, and I forgot to say, if you're new here, welcome. And if you're joining us back again, hey, thank you for coming to join us on another journey. But we got to give the hot sauce for this. So Miss P and I, we have a hot sauce chart. At the top is the Carolina Reaper. There's nothing better, okay? Then below we have the Ghost Pepper. The Ghost Pepper is a film that is great, it is good, but it's just missing an element, okay? Beneath that is the habanero. This film, it's good, you like it. It's nice, right? But you're not mad. It was a feel good movie type of thing. Below that you have the jalapeno. It's like, meh, whatever, just meh, yeah. But underneath that is the lowest, and that is the bell pepper. No spice at all. It's just flat, it's bland, and you want your money back and the time you spent watching it. So with that being said, Miss P, how do you rate Network?
It's getting the Carolina Reaper.
The Carolina Reaper. Okay. Carolina Reaper. Well, alright. So with that said, I guess it's my turn, right?
That would be correct, Miss M.
I'm looking at the chart and I'm thinking to myself, I'm not gonna give it a Carolina Reaper, but I will give it a Ghost Pepper.
Okay.
So with that being said, we have to justify our ratings. And we do this by using P&M's movie criticisms chart. Miss P, can you explain this to our guests?
Sure can. The first thing that we have is number 9. Do we like it or do we love it? Number 8. Is it historically accurate? Number 7. Did it strike my emotion? Number 6. Did it keep my attention? Number 5. What are the production elements? Number 4. Directing. Number 3. The quality of acting. Number 2. Sound quality and effects. And number 1. My favorite thing in the world. Cinematography.
Ding, ding. That's right. That's right. Before we do our do we like it or do we love it, Miss P and I would like to say some movie quotes. Miss P, you should go first.
Okay, so setting the tone. You're an old man who thinks in terms of nations and peoples. There are no nations. There are no peoples. There are no Russians. There are no Arabs. There are no third party worlds. There is no West. There is only one holistic system of systems, one vast and inhumane, interwoven, interacting dominion of dollars, petrodollars, electrodollars, multi-dollars, reichs, rubles, pounds, and shekels. It is the international system of currency which determines the totality of life on this planet. That is the natural order of things. That is the automatic and subatomic and galactic structure of things today. And you have meddled with the primal forces of nature, and you will atone.
Spoken by the character Arthur Jensen, portrayed by the actor Ned Beatty. Okay, my turn. It's my turn. Okay. Hi, I'm Diana Christensen, a racist lackey of the imperialistic ruling circles. Lauren Hobbs, a bad beep, commie nigger beep. sounds like a basis for a firm friendship. I have to censor myself, everybody. But she basically, so that's Diana. So Diana Christensen is portrayed by none other than the Faye Dunaway. Okay. And then Laureen Hobbs is portrayed by Marlene Warfield. So, yes, a bad beep, commie, Nigge. Yes, that's what she said, okay? Watch the movie, watch the movie. Anyways, Miss P, do we like it or do we love it?
I love it.
Yeah.
This movie is right down my alley. It is worth the watch because it definitely fits into today's time, what we're going through right now.
Yeah, yeah. This was watching it, I was like, well, okay, yeah, there's a lot. So I guess that so yeah, I have to say, do I love it? Well, I'm still digesting this movie, to be honest, because we only just stopped we finished watching this movie maybe 10 minutes ago. So I am literally still digesting this. So yeah, I'm gonna say I'm close to. I don't like it because I do have love for it. So I'm closer to the love. Put me at the middle. I'm in between the like and love. That's where I am.
So she's at
Yeah,
neutral.
yeah, definitely, definitely, Miss P. But you were talking about the times and everything, which I think you're right. That brings us to number 8. Is it historically accurate? What do you think?
Yes, yes. Because although this movie was made in 76, it still holds true today. Like everything, it was kind of like this movie. Another movie that we did that was like this is They Live by
Mhm.
John Carpenter. It is a foreshadowing of what's to happen in the future. Everything that this movie had in it has happened. And the kind of parallelism is kind of uncanny. That what happened, what this movie's what, 25 years old?
No, no, because this movie's older than us.
Both of us, actually. Let me see. This movie's older than
Yeah, it's older
both
than
of
both.
us.
Yeah, it's older than us.
So it's 49. This movie's 49 years old. So a movie that was made back in 76 is 49 years old that's relevant to 2025 says something for the staying power of this movie. So yes, is it historically accurate? Yes. For the times and everything that was in, yes. Even though this movie is a satire and a farce, yes, it is historically accurate for the
Yeah,
times that it was.
yeah. It's like historical fiction because they
Mhm.
talk about Ford, they talk about the attempts on his life, right? They talk about Patty Hearst. Here's you might know about Patty, the Hearst Empire and how um Hearst's daughter Patty was kidnapped, and then she was all like radical. Yeah, you have the
Consumerism.
consumerism, and then you have Lorene Hobbs' character, who's pretty much like a Black Panther. They're not saying it, but they are. And so you have all of the. Oh, they talk about Watergate and everything with Nixon,
Mhm.
the Watergate scandal and everything. So they're talking about a lot of things historically wise to help you understand the atmosphere, the setting of the time.
So, was it historically accurate? As far as we know, yes. This movie also talks about mental illness as well.
Yeah.
It's in there. It's very loosely based in there, but it's in
Yeah,
there.
yes, and yes, everybody. I do think this movie is definitely worth a watch because they say some things, in here. I'm like, what? Did they allow that? But there are certain things that they allowed on television and movies that I don't even think is okay now to even say. And now we can get pretty raunchy, But there are still some things that they
Mhm.
said that were like, you don't talk like that. Like our quotes, like Diana, I'm a racist lackey of an imperialistic ruling circles. Like nobody who talks like that.
No
Nobody
one.
talks like that. Okay? I mean,
But there's a lot of sensationalism in this world that they have made that's a farce, but it's very sensationalized. It's entertainment. They're reporting the facts, but it's the facts like how they view it. They're just like, oh yeah, this is what it is, but this is how I feel about it. So believe me and what I feel, not the facts. Believe my feelings.
Yeah,
The goal for this movie was to get as many eyes on the television show as humanly possible. So that's where the sensationalism comes in. It's like everything has to be over the top. It has to be grandiose. It has to do all these things so people can watch.
that's right.
And it's basically like watch the TV, do what we tell you to do on TV.
Pretty much. So basically, you have our protagonist in this film here. You have Peter Finch. Peter Finch is the name of our actor. He portrays our protagonist Howard Bill, and he has his best friend who his name is Max Schumacher, portrayed by the actor William Holden. They're doing their thing. They're both in television, doing well, very well, but they're canceling Howard's show because of its ratings. They're canceling it. We got to remove you. So Howard literally gets on air in 1976 and says they're canceling my show, so I'm gonna kill myself on
On
national
national air.
air. And she tune in for next week. And he's like, that should get some ratings, right? But it causes such a buzz. People are like, whoa, 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 language, language. People are like, no, 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 get this man off. But Faye Dunaway, Faye Dunaway's character, Diana Christensen, is like, whoa, no, I sense an opportunity for something grandiose, something that has never been done before on television, and she runs with it. So I think that brings us to number 7.
But let me just,
Mhm.
toe on what you just
Mhm.
said, Miss M. She's also an
Yeah.
opportunist. When she sees an opportunity, she takes it. She jumps in there wholeheartedly, all 10 toes down on it. She's an opportunist. And people that are like that in life, you got to watch them. But to bring us to number 7, did it strike my emotions? Miss M?
It definitely did. I would be remiss if I didn't say that this is a screenplay by Patty Chayefsky and directed by Sidney Lumet. I had never seen this movie before. This is a movie that Miss P chose. Okay. So I was like, okay, Miss P, let's do it. So I looked at it and I was like, oh my, this is Sidney Lumet. Wow. I mean, if you don't know Sidney Lumet, he's an excellent director. You might know him from movies like Murder on the Orient Express, but we're talking back in 1974. We're talking 12 Angry Men, Before the Devil Knows You're Dead, Serpico. We're talking A Stranger Among Us. We're talking about this. He's a director that goes way, way back. Even, just 2 years after this movie, The Wiz, right? So and Dog Day Afternoon, right? So this is one heck of a director right here. So I knew I was getting into something, but I didn't know what. So did it strike my emotions? I would say in the most curious of ways, it did strike my emotions. It was just like, wow, this is happening. Wow. Okay. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. Miss P.
Did it strike my emotions? Yes, because you get caught up in the chaos of it all. You go into a world that you're not used to. And even though it was made in the 70s, it's still prevalent for today. So, yes, you get caught up in this world and you see all these characters and you want to side with this character over this character, and you get emotionally involved with them. You want to see what's going to happen.
You do. You do want to see what's going to happen. I mean, you definitely want to see what's going to happen. Do you have anything you want to add before we go to number 6, Miss P?
Not at
Okay, let's
all.
go to number 6 because there's some things I definitely want to talk about with number 6. Did it keep my attention? Let's start with you, Miss P.
100% kept my attention. Um,
Mhm.
the meetings that they kept having behind, it would be like one gigantor meeting, And then it would be one of these little small meetings where you would have everybody and their mom be like, this is sucking. Why does it suck so bad? And you have everybody's input. You'd have the main four big dogs in there, but then you would have the minor characters also. And the minor characters are what was like, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? How can we make the ratings better? What can we do to get him to, rant and rave? Basically, they wanted him to rant and rave the whole time. They wanted him to be out of his character. And they wanted him, and that's why I said it was a struggle almost with mental illness
It's true.
because they made him, they gaslit him a lot. They gaslit him so badly that when he was like, I'm mad as blank and I'm not going to take it anymore, that was the wake up call. He woke people up. He woke them up out of the stupor that they were in because the idiot box, it woke them up out of that craziness because it's a lot of psychosis going on here if you really pay attention. Because people do stuff because they're bored. They have the TV on, but they're not watching it, and they're doing something else, or they're on their phones, or they're on their computer. That's what was happening. How can we get people's attention back to the TV? What can we do to make the ratings go up? All they cared about was the ratings. All they cared about was money, and they made the money their god.
Yeah, they did because, like you said about, like Miss P said about Diana Christensen being an opportunist, that's all she cared about. When you listen to her speak, she says, I don't want any of this on television. I want counterculture. I want anti-establishment. That's what I was like, okay, Diana. Like, and Diana was like, we want Howard Bill. She was like, I want him articulating American rage, a Latter-day Prophet denouncing the hypocrisies of our time. And I was like, okay. And they kept repeating it over and over again. A Latter-day Prophet denouncing the hypocrisies of our time. Like, they repeated it like 3, 4, maybe 5 times. I'm like, yeah, I got you. So they're turning this anchor, this news anchor, into a prophet. And that's like a recurring theme throughout this film. This latter day television news anchor prophet. Get up, wake up. Everything on the tube isn't real. We just tell you whatever it is you want to hear. This is what Howard is saying. This is what he's saying. Literally, this actor here. You gotta go and watch this film. This is what Howard Bill says, again portrayed by Peter Finn. And I think Miss P brings up a good point about him being mentally sick. And the only person who really cared was Max. And Max
Uh-huh.
wanted to get him some medical professional help. Nobody else cared. Everybody was like, let him go and rant on TV.
That's just like you have a whole bunch of handlers, right? And the handlers don't care what you do as long as you don't go outside of certain norms. They want to see how crazy you can get. And it was sick. It was just like watching the decline of a healthy person get gaslit, get depressed, get overworked, get so wrapped up. You don't know from day to day how it's going to wake up. What is he going to do? How are they trying to plan and ruin his life today?
That's right. Because if you pay attention to those movies, I mean, if you pay attention to those meetings, he's never there. He
Uh-huh.
is the star of the show, but he's never involved in the meetings, right?
He is the puppet and they are the marionette people
Yeah,
controlling him.
yeah, that's it. So I was like, okay, this is 1976. I was like, all right, we were doing some things in 1976. They were like the inflation, because at one point that Diana is a shark. She's such a shark. She wants to show. So she's like, give me the show. I want the show. And the show belongs to Max Schumacher, right? But she's like, oh, no, I can take this show, I can give it rating. And so eventually the show is given to her. And they've already even started a romantic relationship, those two. And she doesn't care. She wants that show. She wants to make it She sees things unlimited. She wants to take it to the moon and beyond. She is a very cutthroat personality, doesn't have a lot of emotion, and she doesn't really see reality right. Like her sense of reality is warped. So if we're talking about mental health issues, we can't really forget to discuss Diana Christensen.
Well, if we want to talk about her, what I said before we had even started filming was she was like the Delilah to the Samson. She was like the Delilah to the Samson, if you want to look at her like that, because she was like, it doesn't matter if you're married. Leave your wife, date me, love me, be with me. And she kept on forcing. Finally, he was like, all right. And he left his wife for her.
But she
And then go
but she
ahead, I'm sorry.
even says, I'm a bad lay. I'm such a bad lay. That's one of the things I've heard from men the most. How bad of a lay I am. I'm just horrible. After we do what we do in the bed, I just can't wait to get out of the room, to get my clothes on, to leave. So she told him right before they even right before they had sex that night, that I don't put any real true emotions into my relationships. I pretty much just go to the bedroom, bang, and leave. That's it. Don't expect anything more from me. But but what does Max do? He still gets involved in a relationship with her despite the fact that she was pretty upfront. But anyways, he loses the show. It goes to her, and now she can really start to work her magic, right? Now she's like, I want this. I want the economical terrorist group. I want to turn it into a show. Like, you're talking about turning a terrorist organization into a weekly syndicate show. This woman, this character, my goodness, she's what we call, ladies and gentlemen, a hot mess.
The express kind.
Oh my gosh. But, I have so many more things to say, but I gotta wait because we gotta get up our criteria. But I guess we answered that question. Did it keep our attention? It definitely did.
Number 5. How did you feel about the production elements,
The
Miss M?
production elements, they're pretty good. Uh, let's talk about those production elements. So let's talk about when it came to the box office. I was reading an article from the New York Times written by Mr. Vincent Canby, and this is an article written, and it was written on November 15th, 1976. They even have the picture of the original article in the New York Times. It's very interesting. And you can see the other stories surrounding it. Like right next to it is Carrie, the Stephen King's Carrie. Like, that's so exciting to me. And so, but anyway, let's talk about it. So, they had a decent budget, because they had like it was $3,800,000. You could do more in 1976 than you can with that today, that's for sure. Despite the inflation that they talked about in their day, right? And domestic wise, right, it didn't have an international market. So it was all domestic. So it grossed $23,689,877. And I should say that it was released on November 27th, 1976, and that a New York Times article was written about, I guess you could say, maybe 12 days before that, because that's the 15th. And so Vincent Canby, who wrote this article, he talks about how people are going to perceive it. So Vincent, he says, so I'm going to begin. So open quote, which leads me to wonder what it will mean when network becomes, as I'm sure it will, a huge commercial hit, with one assumes the same audiences whose tastes supposedly dictate the lunacy that Mr. Chayefsky describes in Network. Could it be that Mr. Chayefsky has not carried his outrage far enough, or that American audiences are so jaded that they will try anything once? Say Network or Russian roulette. I'm not sure. I expect that a lot of people will sniff at the film on the ground that a number of the absurdities Mr. Chayefsky and Mr. Lumet chronicles so carefully couldn't happen, which is to miss the point of what they're up to. These wickedly distorted views of the way television looks, sounds, and indeed is are the satirist cardiogram of the hidden heart, not just of television, but also of the society that supports it and is, in turn, supported. End quote. So basically he was thinking, okay, I'm pretty sure he's gonna be successful, but he talked about absurdities, he talked about lunacies, he talked about the American people sniffing at it, right? Holding their noses up at it. So yeah, very interesting. Very interesting take. So he was right, it definitely made what, 8 times his profit almost pretty much.
Another movie that was not a box office flop. We're
On
on.
a roll. So production elements and the locations were nice, right? Yeah.
So let me talk about production real quick. If you notice, when it first opens up, the screen is, very calming, but by the end it's very surreal. Like everything's bright, everything's bold, everything's in like so much color that it's kind of that's one of the things that's satire. You see what I'm saying? It's so much color that it looks kind of wonky, like it's not what reality is anymore.
Yeah.
Like if you notice, it goes from normal. So this could also be the mental illness effect, because it goes from being normal to, in the middle of the movie it starts get wild, and then at the end it's crazy. Like the color's crazy, everything's crazy, it looks fake. It looks so fake that you're like, it's one of those things where it's just so surreal that it's just, is this for real? Is this happening in real life? So if you pay attention, like view it from the beginning and look at how everything is made, then the middle's crazy, then the end is crazy too. And it's like, it's kind of like your mental health. It's kind of like you start out good, you miss a day of medicine, you don't take your and it's just slowly you're declining. And it's not because you don't want to do what you're supposed to. It's just you decline, you decline, you decline, you decline, you decline, you decline, you decline.
Yeah. There's definitely that decline there in that mental health. When you look at the character arcs of Howard Bill and Diana Christensen, gosh, there's such a decline in both of the characters. They're better off at the beginning of the movie than they are at the end of the movie. Like, whoa, just it's insane. Again, if you haven't watched this movie, please go ahead and watch it. Go ahead and watch the throwbacks because you wouldn't have the blockbusters and the art that we have today on screen without the throwback. It's just amazing. It's just so amazing. I guess that brings us to number 4, direct. Miss Pete, what do you think about that directing?
Now, the directing led to the film won 4 Academy Awards for original screenplay, for actor Peter Finch, who died before getting it. He died before he got the award. Faye Dunaway, um, and supporting actress Beatrice Straight received 8 total nominations, including directing and Best Picture.
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely. Sitting back, just amazing work. Really, truly. The lighting, even. There's the lighting at the end, towards the end of the movie. This whole movie, they've been having meetings without Howard Bill. But towards the end, they finally want to have a meeting with him because he's been pulling in the numbers, pulling in millions upon millions of dollars. They've reached their goals, they have surpassed their goals, and they're happy. But then he starts talking about foreign governments and countries coming in and taking the American dollar and using the American dollar against Americans, against the American economy, right? And now they're like, whoa, 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 what are you doing? What are you talking about? We don't like that. The ratings, they went down, right?
That's because he was okay. So you have to think about it. Howard was mentally unwell from like day when he said he was going to kill himself on air. So that's what did that. But then he exposed the network's parent company. He said that they're getting bought by a Saudi conglomerate, and it creates a giant backlash. Like, he was like, "Why did you say anything?" And he threatens the pockets of the executives, and that's when um, Jensen, aka Ned Beatty, comes in and says the following: "The world isn't how it works." Because he also said he was a prophet. And that's the speech that I gave, the little quote that I gave. That was him talking to him, saying, "You done messed up now, big boy. You stepped into my pockets. You dug into my pockets. So now you will be dealt with accordingly." So Ned Beatty, aka Arthur Jensen, said, "I too am a prophet. If you look at me, I'm just not on TV because I control the money." So you see, everybody had a hand
That's right.
in
That's
it.
right. They were reeling him in because he had gotten out of control. But so Arthur Jensen, that's that lighting. Arthur Jensen takes our protagonist Howard into a meeting room that he calls Valhalla. He takes these vast curtains that are they frame these beautiful windows and a beautiful view, right? We're talking floor to ceiling windows, and he presses a remote. He has a button he presses. These curtains, these burgundy blood red curtains draw themselves, just closing out any and all light into what he calls Valhalla. And the light shines on him as he speaks and preaches his own sermon in a way to Howard, who is sitting at the very end of this long, long table with these odd, awkward green lamps, very reminiscent of those green lamps you see in you used to see, well, in libraries way, way, way back when. And the lighting there is different for Howard. He's actually enshrouded in darkness, but you have this close up image of him in his face where he's looking at him, and I'm thinking to myself, they're playing him. Because Arthur Jensen says to him, I'm a salesman. That's how I started. I sold this, that, and that, and that. I'm told I can sell anything. That's when he takes him to Valhalla and sets the atmosphere. And I got it. I got it. When he was giving his sermon to Howard, he was speaking his language. He was talking about the affairs of the world and the currency, the economic landscape, as though it was something spiritual, spiritually divine. And Howard understood him. Arthur Jensen knew he would because he knew in order to get to Howard, that's how he had to present what he was selling to Howard so that when Howard was done and they were done with their meeting, he would get on television and do what he wanted. And I was thinking, whoa, okay, that's some masterfully done manipulation.
But see, here's the thing. As soon as he did that, notice how he was telling the people, and this is how people always dismiss. If a person seems crazy, they use dismissive ways to make you seem like you're crazy and you're not telling the truth. But you could be telling the truth, but that's how people dismiss you, just like that. Because if you watch, he was telling everybody, we have no real power. We have nothing to offer. We have nothing. And then that's when the ratings start to drop. When he was telling people the truth, people only want to come from miles around to watch you burn, right? Metaphorically, they want to see you burn. They want to see some entertainment. When you're not entertaining, the people turn on you. And so when he was speaking the truth, they turned on him in the matter of minutes, turned on him. And when they turned on him, what happened? The ratings went down. Then everybody was trying to scramble around. Well, what are we going to do? We're going up against Howdy Doody. We're going up against a bionic woman. We're going up against this and that and the other. We're going up against Don and, that show back in the day the Tony and Don something show, variety show, where they used to sing and dance. But that's what the black lady was talking about. She came in there and she said, we got to get him off the air. He's killing our ratings. He's killing them. We got to get him out of here. We got to get him out of here. And so, just to piggyback on what Miss M was saying, you have to be careful of when you tell the truth and who you tell the truth to, because just because you're speaking it doesn't mean people are going to receive what you have to say. Makes me think of prophets.
Well,
When you're
yeah,
speaking truth, people dismiss you and they call you crazy because you're saying something of
that's
importance.
and that's what they keep calling him. He is the mad prophet, Howard Bill, the mad prophet. A recurring theme. So I guess that brings us to the quality of acting. My God, Faye, Faye did it for me.
Spectacular.
What about?
I like the decline of Mr.
Oh
Bill.
well, I mean, when we talk about act, hands down, Peter Finch and Faye Dunaway, that acting just held me. I mean, I was like, listen, Howard, you need to calm it down. You don't need to be on prophet mode 100% of the time. You like calm down,
Even
Pete. The way Faye Dunaway portrayed Diana Christensen and Peter William Holder with Max Schumacher and Ned Beatty, he didn't have the most camera time, but when he was on and he gave his little speech, and Howard said to him when he was done, "I look into the eyes of God." And then Arthur Jensen looked down at him, hand on his shoulder. "Perhaps you do." I was like, oh my gosh, this is some serious manipulation right here. All these actors, your protagonists, the principal, the supporting character, this is an ensemble cast, ladies and gentlemen.
I don't think it could have been acted by anybody better at the
No, no,
time.
no, no. This casting is spot on. From Lorene Hobbs who else here can I even mind? Like, see, here you have William Prince, you have Lane Smith, Cantata Farrell, Kathy Cronkite, Lee Richardson, Beatrice Straight, Jordan Charney, Sasha Von Shirley. You have a really great cast. Then there's the great Ahmad Khan, played by Arthur Burgott. Oh my gosh, they're arguing in this, Medina, we're not going to talk about that. You just need to watch the film. I don't think they could have done better.
Not at all. And that brings us to number 2, which is sound quality and effects. So for the 70s, this was good for what it was. I mean, it didn't have that many effects, and it was good. It was a surrealist type of movie, so it didn't have all these like CGI. There was no CGI back then. The sound quality was good. So the editing, the actual effects, everything was good. Miss
It
M?
was great. I mean, for the movie that it was, it didn't have to really rely on anything. It was just good old-fashioned foundational filming principles. Um, and it was there's nothing in it noticeable. Everything added to everything. The music, the use of sound added to the story. They turned up sound, they turned down sound. It was all very practically based. And that's when it comes to sound and film. That's one of the things, you need to add those practical elements to life. And when you do, and you do it successfully, what you get is you get something good, you get something great. Um, Again, it all complemented each other. It helped to drive the story forward. It helped to keep our attention. It helped to keep us focused, strike the emotion. Miss P, I gotta say, the effects, the sound quality, they're on point.
Okay, now number 1, my favorite thing, cinematography. I love it. I loved it because you watch the madness from the open to the close. It's just nothing but madness. And the chaos and the madness worked for the cinematography because everything was shot like inside of the studio. There was stuff outside of the studio like a house or, office building, but mainly it was like 4 different shots of the same thing always. They're in the studio, they're at their house. It wasn't like a lot of like filming areas that you needed to have for this specific thing. So it worked for
Pretty
what it
much. You
was.
just had your establishing shots, your master shots, then classic, then go to the inside, um, and interior. That's it. That's all it was, really. But it was so well done. So well done.
And you sure you don't want to change your rating? You're
Do
still
I want
stuck
to
at
change
the
it?
bottom?
I mean, yeah, I mean, it's great. This is definitely it's won Oscars. It tied with, I was looking at it, I'm like, whoa. It tied with Rocky for Best Picture in the Los Angeles Film Critics Association Awards. So, do I want to give it a Carolina Reaper? I'm going to be honest with you. I really still don't know. I mean, I'm just. There's just a lot of things about this film. Yeah, I think it's definitely, even to this day, when we look at it cultural and everything, but like, I don't really know. I don't, MSP. I mean,
Man, don't backtrack now. You're halfway there. You are halfway there.
oh,
You don't believe that it should get a Carolina Ghost?
I don't know. Oh yeah, cinematographer is Owen Roisman. Well, he's the director of photography. I don't know. I mean,
I think we should give it a
I
Carolina Reaper because you cannot tell me out of the movies that we have done, out of the past almost 9 movies that we have done, this one right here does not get a
Okay,
Carolina
so
Reaper.
let me work out the story arc, beginning, middle, and end. Okay, so
Okay.
begin. You have protagonist Howard Bill being fired. He's like, okay, this is my fate. So then he goes on live television and says, well, I'm going to kill myself because I have nothing left. Ratings spike. There's a sensation. They're like, get this guy out. We're going to get rid of him. It's your end. But then they say, oh, no, there's an opportunity here. And he comes back. And he comes back harder than ever. Okay. He's pulling in the numbers. They're struggling. They don't have any top shows as television. They're at the bottom, but now they're right where they want to be. They're at the height, and once they get to the height, the middle of our story, he starts to get radical. So they got to fix it because his points are getting down. And it's not really so much that he's getting radical. It's so much so that really it's beginning to affect the ratings. So that's what they don't like. They're losing money. They're set to lose about $45 million if this continues like this. Right? He's called, and so that's when you come to the end of the movie and the solution is, I cannot say what the solution is, but the resolution, because the only thing I can say, because I will not spoil this for you, I will not, I, Miss M, will not. Okay? The only thing I will say is this. The resolution is a dark one, an unsavory one that I thought was figurative, but for them, quite literal. And I think that, for me, is why I just can't give it a Carolina Reaper. Because there is no resolution. At least not from my
But
perspective.
there is. So I'm not going to spoil it for you either, but when I say certain things, you will know,
Mhm.
Miss M. The reason why I gave it a Carolina Reaper is because of the ending. Because they had it was kind of like I'm in between a rock and a hard place. So I'm going to pick the hard place and I'm going to do these things. And then, didn't you hear the voiceover at the end? You have to watch the voiceover at the end. Then you have to look at the different commercials that were playing because those were imperative. There was a life commercial at the top right. You have to go back and watch those. There was a life commercial.
Yeah.
Get it? They just did what they did, but there was a life commercial. Mikey will eat anything. He always eats
Mikey.
anything. Yeah. Do you see? It was a correlation of, yeah, that happened, but it always happens. He'll do
Oh my
anything.
gosh. Yeah,
Get it?
yeah, I get it. I get
Then you had the actual anchor from the other TV station that said, my goodness, they did that because, the only person ever that did that because of lousy ratings.
Yeah.
Then you have the atomic bomb going off. Like you have to watch the different stuff that was on the screen. Cause I watched that ending twice just to make sure I understood because it was the allegory and it was the sensationalism. Because Mikey will do anything. He'll eat anything. He'll eat anything. The only person that ever did this is because of their crappy ratings. Like he was confused. Then it had the atomic bomb going off. Then it was, and it came to the clock, and then it was
And
kind of like
I
60
was watching
minutes.
this part very carefully because a lot of those different shows on the different channels were playing simultaneously. And so the noise is just coming at
Mhm.
you. It's Mikey, it's the housewife, it's the news anchor. It's all of them just it's like they're barking at you and saying, consume me, consume me,
Uh-huh.
consume me. But I suppose maybe
What else does that make you think?
they live. But
Uh-huh.
but also I guess at the end of the day, I'm such a stickler for like story arcs and character arcs and growth and development. But I suppose for a story like this, maybe there is no real full circle here. There is no resolution here. And I suppose when I look at it from that standpoint, when I look at it also from a cultural standpoint, because this movie is a satire, but it's also a commentary, I feel, about the times of society in 1976, perhaps that decade with it and everything. I suppose that this story, in a way, is a continuation of sorts, which is why we don't have that full circle, which is why we don't have that resolution, which is why I'm like looking at beginning, middle, and end. And if you put it that way, and if you look at it from that perspective, I guess you could give it to Carolina Reaper. But I'm gonna stick to my guns, and I'm sticking with the Ghost of.
Boo, popcorn, popcorn, popcorn.
Ladies and gentlemen, please watch this film if you haven't. Tell us what you think. Okay? We want to really have a discussion with you, right, Miss Pig?
But see, listen, don't just hit me up on social media. Actually go onto our website, which is pnmmoviecriticisms.com, and leave us a message about the movie. Don't just hit me up. Spotify, YouTube, Apple, we have different platforms. And so, what I'm going to say is go ahead and hit us up there. Don't be scared to say anything, but we need more interaction from you guys, the listeners.
This is how the algorithm pushes our content, literally, through engagement. So we need you to help us out. Pretty please from Miss P.
Well, I'm not going to
I'm
beg,
just being
but
cute. That's the cute voice. Pretty please.
look,
And
look, look,
also polite.
just do it. Like Nike says,
Just
just do
do
it.
it. No, put some thought into it. Don't do what Nike. It's all about context.
Boom.
You don't listen to Miss P. Listen to me. Pretty please.
Consume. Consume.
Share. Subscribe. Anyways, listen. Everybody, come join us. Give us your comments. Tell us what you want us to review next. We love having you here. We love doing this for you. Show us some love. We need some love. And we're going to give love back to you. All right, everybody. Thank you for joining us tonight. I am Miss M, and I'm about this.
And I'm Miss P. Consume, consume, consume.
See you
Bye.
later. Don't listen to her, but do comment. See you next.
Consume, consume.